Yamato Nezuko has been one of the fan favorites since the beginning of the anime. Cute and wholesome, but at the same time, ferocious, badass, and overpowered when needed. But have you ever wondered what would happen in the world of Demon Slayer if Tomioka actually killed Nezuko? How would Tanjiro react? And how would that impact the rest of the story? Spoiler warning, many more people will end up dead, and we're gonna break down exactly how this would happen. You see, Nezuko making it out alive when faced in front of a Hashira cannot be described anything but close to a miracle. Her reaction to protect Tanjiro made Tomioka reconsider, and hence Giyu deciding to make his first ever exception in the matter by allowing a demon to live despite having the opportunity to kill her. In this timeline, we will assume that for whatever reason, Tomioka does not hold back and actually attacks Nezuko. Tanjiro's first reaction is to try and save his sister, even though she is now a demon. However, Tomioka lands a hit on Nezuko's neck and kills her. Now that's where the story starts getting really interesting. As you can imagine, Tanjiro is devastated and starts crying. He has a panic attack and ends up passing out. Although Giyu still believes he made the right call, he feels bad for Tanjiro that lost all of his family within a few minutes, and even more than that, had his only family left killed in front of him. Instead of leaving him alone in the snow, he takes Tanjiro with him. When Tanjiro wakes up, Tomioka explains the whole situation to him. Giyu tells Tanjiro how Muzan killed and keeps killing thousands of people, while he also turned some of them into demons. He explained to Tanjiro that what he did with Nezuko was mercy, and that it was for the best for both her and Tanjiro. Tanjiro understands Tomioka's feelings and motives, and even though he is still deeply saddened by the event, he understands Tomioka's reasons. That's the point where Tanjiro announces and promises that he will kill Muzan. Even though Tanjiro is not the type of person that seeks revenge, he wants to kill Muzan in order to save thousands of people in the future from having to witness and experience what he had to go through. Tomioka sees the conviction in Tanjiro's eyes and decides to show him the basics of breathing forms. However, Tomioka refuses to take Tanjiro as a permanent student because he does not feel worthy of teaching others. Tanjiro never meets Urokodaki, and he does not train with him. Also, since Tanjiro is now training with Tomioka and is not wandering around the forest alone, he never meets the temple demon. If we assume, however, that the duo actually stumbles upon the temple demon at some time, Tomioka is nearby and takes care of the demon himself. This also serves as a demonstration and an early lesson for Tanjiro at how breathing forms are actually being utilized. During the final selection, Tomioka says goodbye to Tanjiro, and he tells him that from there onwards, he will have to take care of things on his own. Tanjiro enrolls in the final selection, and just like in the original plot, he has the visions of Sabito and Makomo during his fight with the hand demon. After the final selection, everything is pretty much the same. Tanjiro goes in the missions he did in the original plot, he meets Muzan, and he also meets Inosuke and Zenitsu during his fight with Kyogai and the tongue demon. Even though no significant change happened so far, don't worry, that's where the story starts getting really exciting. Fast forward to his fight with Rui. Tanjiro struggles and is about to die without Nezuko's help. Tanjiro uses the Hinokami Kagura for the first time, but even like that, this was not enough to defeat Rui. At the moment Tanjiro uses the Hinokami Kagura, Giyu arrives at the scene and sees Tanjiro using something that to him looks like flame breathing. That obviously surprised Giyu that spent weeks or even months teaching Tanjiro what he knows, only for him to use another breathing style he was not supposed to know. As soon as the two Hashiras, Giyu and Shinobu, arrive at the scene, they take the lead and defeat Rui and the spider demons in seconds. This level of demon was child's play for two fully fledged Hashiras. Tanjiro is exhausted and is about to pass out due to Hinokami Kagura that drained his stamina. But you see, before that happens, Tomioka asks Tanjiro if something happened during the final selection that caused him to develop a new breathing style. Tanjiro replied that the only thing weird was that strange vision he had of a former demon slayer named Sabito. Tomioka is shocked. After all, how could Tanjiro know about Sabito? Tanjiro starts explaining to Tomioka how he killed the hand demon, but while he explains, he passes out from exhaustion. Giyu is shocked and tears start rolling from his eyes because he remembers about Sabito. Giyu sees this as a sign and realizes that it was fated for him to meet Tanjiro. But you see, even like that, Giyu would still not take Tanjiro as a formal student because he still thinks he is not capable of such responsibility. Tomioka still thinks he's an imposter, and he is still convinced that the next Water Hashira should have been Sabito in his place. What Giyu does instead is that he takes the unconscious Tanjiro with him to the Hashira meeting in order to meet Rengoku. Zenitsu and Inosuke tag along. Tomioka thinks that Rengoku will be of greater help to Tanjiro since just a few moments ago, Tanjiro used something that to him looked like flame breathing. After the Hashira meeting, Rengoku takes Tanjiro under his guidance. Their first mission together is to investigate the mysterious disappearance of 40 passengers passengers at Mugen Train. Just like the original plot, Tanjiro and Inosuke tag along. In the Mugen Train arc, the same events happen as in the original plot, with the only difference being that this time around, Rengoku dies without having achieved his goal. Why, you may ask? Well, that's because without Nezuko's help, many people die in the train, meaning that Rengoku dies in his fight with Akaza while also having just failed to protect everyone in the train, even though that's quite depressing. Wait for the rest of the story. You'll be glad that Nezuko made it out alive in the original plot. When it comes to the Entertainment District arc, Nezuko's original contribution was vital. She showed her awakened form for the first time and engaged in battle with Daki. Not only that, but she also helped Tengen after his battle by using her flames on him. So in this timeline that Nezuko is absent, we will assume that the Demon Slayers still defeat Daki and Gyutaro, but one of Zenitsu, Inosuke, or Tengen has to die for two important reasons. The first one being that Nezuko's fighting power is now absent, and hence the Demon Slayers sustain way more injuries and much more severe injuries. The second reason is that her flames that grant healing powers cannot save Tengen Uzui in this timeline. Hence, we will assume that this someone who will die in this version of the story is Tengen, that his injuries are so great that he cannot recover after the battle without Nezuko's help. Tanjiro despairs, as for 2 consecutive arcs, he lost the 2 Hashiras that fought alongside with him. He promises that their deaths will not be in vain, but as we will see in the rest of the video, things are not as simple as that. Fast forward to the Swordsmith Village arc. Nezuko's contribution in fighting Huntengu was crucial. Without her, Tanjiro and Genya would be at a great disadvantage. When it comes to Moichiro's side, on the other hand, the same things happen, and Moichiro ends up killing Gyoko. Nezuko had nothing to do with Moichiro regaining his memories and awakening the mark. Hence, things on Moichiro's side remain the same. The main difference in this timeline, however, is that the Demon Slayers do not manage to kill Huntengu. You see, Tanjiro and Genya are struggling a lot and are about to die until Mitsuri arrives and saves the day. When Mitsuri arrives, the fight becomes much more evenly matched. However, after some time, and after Huntengu learns that Gyoko has been killed, Huntengu decides to flee the area and escapes, meaning that even though Tanjiro and Genya made it out alive, so does Huntengu. But you see, here is where the most pivotal change so far occurs. After the battle against Huntengu, in the original plot, Nezuko was exposed to sunlight, and instead of disintegrating, we find out that Nezuko is the first ever demon immune to sunlight. That was the reason that led to the final arc and Muzan's attack in the Abuya Shiki residence. Muzan had finally found a way to become a perfect being and conquer the sun by eating Nezuko. But since Nezuko is dead in this timeline and no one conquered the sun yet, Muzan has no reason to attack the Abuya Shiki residence. Hence, the final arc is way different. When Huntengu comes back to report to Muzan, Muzan becomes furious and kills him for failing to defeat Tanjiro. Not only that, but Huntengu ran away from the battle. Believe me when I'm saying that the sole reason Akaza survived a similar situation after the Mugen Train arc is only because Muzan had a soft spot for him. Since Huntengu is both lower ranked than Akaza, and Muzan does not particularly either like or hate him, he does not offer Huntengu the privilege of a special treatment. Muzan kills Huntengu on the spot like he did with the lower moons. Muzan is now enraged and makes Tanjiro the #1 priority and target. After all, Muzan witnessed Tanjiro's Hanafuda earrings that resembled Yoriichi's. If we assume that after Huntengu's report, Muzan also found out that Tanjiro is a sun breath user, then the case is pretty much closed. Muzan decides that every demon, including the upper moons, have as #1 target to kill Tanjiro. He is too dangerous to be left alone, and hence have time to reach his full potential and prime strength. Muzan needs to absolutely eradicate any chance of another Yoriichi appearing in front of him. On the other side of the camp now, the Demon Slayers are not waiting for an organized attack of Muzan like they did in the original story. You see, in the original plot, they knew that Muzan would attack because Nezuko had conquered the sun. Hence now, there's no need for Muzan to do such a thing. The Demon Slayers, of course, do train in the Mark Awakening after the recent events of the Swordsmith Village arc, and hence, the Hashira training arc happens as normal. But since, after that, the Demon Slayers are sent to missions, each one in a different area, Tanjiro is left too vulnerable and unguarded for what's about to come. We believe that when Kokushibo eventually finds and attacks Tanjiro, Tanjiro ends up dead, as without the necessary help of at least another Hashira, he cannot defeat Kokushibo on his own. He did not master his sun breathing, nor the red blade, or transparent world, or even selfless state. Even if he manages to awaken some of these during his fight with Kokushibo, we believe that the fight would be over before Tanjiro could develop to a level that would even pose a threat to Kokushibo. Kokushibo expresses his disappointment as he expected to see someone resembling his brother Yoriichi. After that, he kills Tanjiro and takes the Hanafuda earrings with him to show and report back to Muzan. Muzan is reassured that the most important threat to him is now eradicated, and then gets back to doing his usual business. After Tanjiro's death, the Demon Slayer's efforts all start going downhill. The final outcome of the series is that one one after another, the Hashiras end up dead until they either all die or only a few survive. At that point, they understand that they cannot defeat Muzan and instead are focused in training the new era of Demon Slayers in order to maybe someday someone from the future generations might be able to achieve what none of their predecessors accomplished, aka defeat Kibutsuji Muzan. Even if some Hashiras are left alive, they die a few years later due to the Demon Slayer Mark's effect that kills its users before the 25th year of their lives. The next generation of Demon Slayers may or may not achieve the goal of defeating Muzan. Muzan might or might not conquer the sun in the next decades. But the sure thing is that in simpler words, Tomioka killing Nezuko would have been the biggest mistake in the series, as this would lead to Muzan surviving through this generation of Demon Slayers as well. But speaking of mistakes, check out this video where we present 36 mistakes you probably never noticed in One Piece. Go on, check it out!